podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PMR.
First Officer's Log, Stardate 1207.3. On Earth, it's May 11th, 2256. A Sunday.
Cavebabble. Hello and welcome to Cavebabble episode 258. This week's episode, Star Trek pilots, the Vulcan Hello. Hello. How do Vulcans say hello?
Go forth and multiply. Oh wait, no, they don't say that.
Go forth and multiply?
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Not go forth and multiply. Wait, no, that was biblical, not Star Trek.
Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. That's the edict. Yeah, there you go. Go forth.
Go forth and multiply. Yes, yeah. Well, that was kind of Captain Kirk. There wasn't a woman he didn't love. Love, yeah.
Less than 2 minutes into the show, and we've already derailed everyone.
Yeah, this has nothing. Well, it has a little bit to do. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
About Star Trek.
This episode is brought to you by Brand New Old Klingons.
Yeah.
Brand new old ones.
I didn't realize how moist they were.
They're so moist.
They're so moist.
I am so sorry you said that because now I will not be able to see them any other way.
I found it very distracting. Yeah, myself.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that. Hello, everyone. This is Eric.
This is Valerie.
Welcome to our podcast. We promised to babble just a little bit less than last time.
It was kind of, we apologize. It's been a while since we babbled, and we were having fun.
We were having fun.
I hope you did too.
We promise to have 50% less fun this podcast.
That's not true. That's the only reason why we podcast is to have fun, so you, our listeners, can have fun too.
We were discussing what we would have as a show this week, and I finally clued in. Oh, you know what we haven't done? We haven't done a pilot episode for the latest iteration of Star Trek, which is Discovery.
Right, because we were talking about what we were going to watch next, because we had just finished watching the last episode of this last season of
the last
Flash.
season available on Netflix, which is season 4.
Right. And so you were saying, well, we need to watch Star Trek Discovery.
That's right, because I just got it on Blu-ray, and unlike so many others who are subscribed to CBS All Access, which I don't know why you'd be part of that if you didn't enjoy Star Trek so much, I'm not going to pay a monthly fee. Well, anyway, I won't go into that. I'm not going to pay a monthly fee to just watch Star Trek because there's nothing else on there that I'm really interested in.
Right. We don't watch TV.
And CBS knows this because they release the Star Trek, the Discovery episodes a week after each other. They don't put the whole season on there at once because they know everyone would watch the season. And then they would cancel their subscription. So, and that's what people do in between seasons of Discovery. I think a lot of people just cancel their subscription. Anyway, I don't mind giving people money to watch things. That's not an issue with me. I paid for the Blu-ray set.
That's why we go to the movies. We pay big bucks to go to the movies to see. Yeah, so we're not opposed to paying money to see something we want.
No, but there are so many streaming services, and they're all, it's just a little bit. Well, it's just a little bit, and pretty soon you're paying as much as your cable bill for all of these little streaming services. So I'm not going to do that. Well, it's a bummer that I don't get to have those conversations. Well, not very many people at work are into Star Trek, but those that are, I'm not able to have those water cooler discussions with them after a week's, episode.
Right.
But at the same time, I get to see them in cool Blu-ray, full, high def quality and sound and everything on the Blu-ray, and I'm happy. That's okay.
Yeah, because the pilot we watched last night, that was on your Blu-ray, right? Oh,
Yep.
it was beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
Beautiful.
We can just get that right out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
This show looks beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah, the
Beautiful,
colors
beautiful.
just pop, vibrant. Crisp filming. Mm-hmm.
Crisp filming.
Crisp filming.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it had been a long time since the last iteration of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Between that one and this one.
How long? Or am I putting you on the spot?
Shit. Well, let's see here. Star Trek Enterprise went from 2001 to 2005. So it had been since 2005 until 2017.
Really? That long?
Yeah. Since there had been a series, a Star Trek series.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the last series. Now, there had been the movies, the JJ-verse, the rebooted films, the movie films. Rebooted movie films, I just said.
Rebooted movie films. Okay.
Rebooted movie films, flicks, talkies. You remember that series of talkies that had Star Trek and Chris Pine as Kirk?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, all of that happened. The JJ universe happened after that, So it was all on the big screen. It wasn't a series since then. Yeah, that's a crazy amount of time. But it was time. Now, do fans like this? Do Star Trek fans like this show? It depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, it looks like it did at first, but now it seems to be losing popularity.
Well, it's on the streaming service. It's not on CBS anymore. Not on broadcast TV. So you have to sign up for the service to watch it.
So the numbers talk. When you don't make it accessible, people can't watch it. Yeah.
Well,
and your ratings drop.
Well, they're also getting paid for people to watch it, as opposed. Well, I don't know. I don't know how profitable it is or what. I can't say anything because will we watch this series or not? It's all based on this episode, babe.
Yeah, will we watch the series?
The only thing is, it's really not based on this episode, or it really shouldn't be based on just this episode. Because what happens in the second episode is just a continuation of this one.
Right,
it's
but
really
we had to
one
do
episode.
stay on our concept of watching the one show, and would we continue to watch this?
And I think,
of course, that's kind of sorry for interrupting.
No. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
But it's like it's Star Trek, so whether it's bad or not, we're probably going to watch it.
Star Trek, even if it's bad, we're going to watch it.
Because
there's my T-shirt.
We're kind of sort of Trekkies, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a Trekkie, which is I can't believe I didn't pay for the service because I was itching to see this show.
I mean, you've got your own phaser.
That's right. I have my own phaser.
Yeah,
I do.
It even makes it
makes all
noises.
kinds of cool noises, and it doubles as a remote control if you want to.
Yeah,
it's an awesome
you've
one.
never set yours up. It was a wonderful gift from our son-in-law to you.
I love it. I love my phaser. I love all my Star Trek stuff. I don't have a bunch or anything. I haven't filled. I have as many xenomorphs as I have Star Trek things. Aliens. I have lots of aliens.
Lots of aliens.
But anyway, no, with this series, it's even more important that we base it on how we feel about this first episode, because this was the episode that should entice us to sign up for the service and continue the series. Mm-hmm. So we have to base it on this episode.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to do right now. You ready?
Yes.
Dun,
ready.
Dun,
Hang on.
Dun.
Lock your seatbelts.
What are we talking about? 2017's pilot episode for Star Trek Discovery. That's easy for me to say. The Vulcan Hello.
All life is born from chaos. The world doesn't always adhere to logic. Sometimes down is up. And sometimes when you're lost, you're found.
We have been waiting for someone worthy of our attention.
Captain, incoming!
Oh,
wait. Prepare for the Ice Age. We're just going to say that
wrong,
in every...
wrong. No, that was the last podcast. This one has nothing to do with an Ice Age.
Directed by David Semel or Semel. David. Directed by David.
David, there.
So there you go. Did you like it?
Wait, we can't say yet. Yeah, we got to talk about it first, and then I'll give you my full opinion. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have to give just a quick summary of what this one is about. So let's go to that the source of all Star Trek knowledge, which is the Memory Alpha wiki. The Vulcan Hello. Here is their little synopsis of this episode. While patrolling Federation space, the USS Shinjo encounters an object of unknown origin, putting First Officer Michael Burnham to her greatest test yet. How many other tests has she had? None that we've seen.
Yeah.
I guess the test. No, she literally was tested in the good old Vulcan way when she was a kid. She wasn't doing so well on that one either. Mm-hmm. So I guess we have seen her tested.
He has a flashback during this pilot episode.
Yeah. That's really not a good use of literally. I shouldn't say that. Let's get that word out of our vocabulary, shall we?
That's right.
Yeah, that's more or less what it's about. One thing I can say is this seemed like a really short episode. Mm-hmm. Didn't it? I can't believe this is a full 44 minutes. Because
it did seem short. It went fast.
Is that because there was lots of there really wasn't that much action
and you had to explain to me where this fell within the timeline.
Yeah, this is like 10 years before the original series, which we'll get into that. Let's get into that after the cast list. We can talk about those things along the way. Who in the world is in this movie? Who is in this pilot? Well, let's just start at the top here. Sonequa Martin Green plays Michael Burnham, first officer of the Shinjo. I remember her from The Walking Dead.
She was in The Walking Dead. I thought she's going to make a good, strong female character, and that is something that Star Trek seems to continue to do. It says is to break the barriers of putting women at the center of the story. So,
not only a woman, but an African-American woman, and she can...
So wonderful. Yeah, I think she would lead this show. From what I saw in this episode, I felt she was a very strong actress.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, next, Michelle Yeoh as Philippa Giorgio, the captain of the Shinjo. Sorry, I mispronounced it. The captain, who she's with on the planet at the beginning. So what do you think of her? I know her from, of course, her action films with Jackie Chan and On Her Own. And she was in a Bond movie once. And of course, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is what she's most known for. At least over here, I should say.
I think she's a good actress. I think, though, when I see her, I recognize her as Michelle Yeoh and not as the character she's playing.
Yeah, and maybe that has a little to do with her command of the English language, maybe, though she does a pretty good job. There were a few times during this pilot where her enunciation wasn't quite as crisp and clear. But yeah, I mean, like I said, she's a really good actress, but I don't see her as captain. I see her as Michelle Yeoh. Right,
so yeah,
exactly. There are many people whose personality of their character, kind of like if Jackie Chan is in anything, he's Jackie Chan. You don't believe him as a different character. It's just him with a different name.
Right, and it's not saying that is bad. She's a very good actress. I think
she's recognizable enough. Enough people know her that we know her as Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
So. All right, next character, Doug Jones plays Saru, the science officer, the alien dude. And what do you think of him? Now, we know him from all kinds of Guillermo del Toro movies. He plays a lot of creatures in his films.
Okay. And of course you can't recognize him because of all the makeup that
he's always in makeup. In the movies I see him in, he's in makeup all the time.
Yeah, this must be hours and hours of the makeup. And it was good that you explained to me a little bit of his character's culture. Because that helped me then understand his actions and his dialogue better.
Yeah, and I didn't remember. I'd seen it. I saw this when it first aired, and I haven't seen it since this episode. And I had forgotten that they discussed that partway through the episode, they discuss the nature of his race?
I probably would have caught it because he explained himself what his species was.
Your world has food chains. Mine does not. Our species map is binary. We are either predator or prey. My people were hunted, bred, farmed. We are your livestock of old. We were biologically determined for one purpose and one purpose alone: to sense the coming of death.
You have the hunters and those that are you have the hunters or the prey, and he was essentially, his part of the population is the prey, and they were
bred or bred, I guess is the best way to put it, to detect danger,
right?
Detect death, right?
Right, death
not
ahead
just
of time.
danger, but death, imminent death.
So that's what he can do. And, if you didn't know that about his character, you just assume that he's a wuss, because anytime there's any danger, it's like, no, we're running. We're turning and we're running. We're going, we're not doing that.
Because I don't want to die. This is self-preservation. I sense imminent death. We're going to run.
We're going to run. So, I like alien species in Star Trek shows. So if we have a whole new race there for me to investigate, that's fantastic. I like that.
So is Doug Jones really tall, or are Shaniqua and Michelle really short?
Well, I think Michelle Yeoh is fairly short. That's a good question. Doug Jones is a tall guy. He's super, super thin guy. Mm-hmm. And, it makes him perfect for some of the costumes that he's been put in.
Yeah.
But, I'm not sure if they emphasize that or not. I'm not quite sure how tall he really is in real life. Not sure. Man, we're already getting down to the bottom of the barrel. We've only gone through like 3 characters, and there's hardly anyone else to introduce because we don't meet very many people in this episode.
Yeah, not in this first one. I mean, you meet your crew on the bridge, but
now
briefly.
So now let's jump to the Klingon side. We have Chris Obi, who plays T'Kuvma, which is the leader of the Klingon movement, this crusade that he wants to start. Do we even get his name in this episode?
If we do, it's in the. You'd have to read the Klingon subtitles because it did tell you in the subtitles who was speaking. I did not pay attention to what his name was.
Oh, did it? Okay, so it gave a little blurb saying who was speaking.
Yeah, puts in parentheses who was speaking, and then it says the.
Okay, so that's how we know.
Yeah.
Oh, and we will talk about design and everything. I will just go through one more person, and then we can talk about everything.
Okay.
Okay. James Frayne plays Sarek. Sarek's in this movie? What? In this show? I keep calling it a movie. In this show? Really? Why? This is Spock's dad. What does he have to do with this?
Well, other than he mentored Michelle or Michael. They call it Michael, not Michelle.
It's not Michelle.
Michael.
Mm-hmm.
He mentored
Curious.
Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Let's talk about that. All right, let's jump right into it, babe. We go boom. At the beginning of the show, they were down on this planet.
The beginning of the show.
That's true. The
beginning of the show starts entering the universe through the eye of the Klingon.
Yeah, T'Kuvma, which was an awesome shot.
Yeah, and how we start out with the universe, and then we pull in until we're pulling through the pupil of the Klingon eye.
Yeah, something that's only available in the age of computer-generated images. Mm-hmm. And man, is it effective. I love that shot.
Mm-hmm. So that was my first. It's like, wow, this is beautiful. The darks were dark. The colors burst.
And their skin looks especially oily and slick.
Yeah, and then we go to technology. Yeah, so that was different. Then we go to all these schematic drawings of technology.
Oh, yeah, okay, but let's talk about the Klingons first. What do you think of their costume? Well, first of all, what do you think of the Klingons in general? These are not your father's Klingons. These aren't your grandfather's Klingons. The Klingons are the one race that they just mess with all the time in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. And the thing, so these are Klingons. This is supposed to be 10 years before
the original series. Mm-hmm.
The original series, yeah.
So what do you think? Well, of course, you have to update things for a modern era, right? I don't think the age of, I mean, look at the original Klingons in TOS, in the original series.
Right.
They're practically just like the humans. I mean, there's very little difference. You put some facial hair on them, and
these were definitely more lizard-like.
Yeah, there's boy, I love their costuming though. Mm-hmm. All of that metal work and everything on them, they're really impressive. And I think for the first time, even the one that was in its suit on the outside of the ship in his battle gear, this is the first time for me in Star Trek history that the Klingons are truly intimidating.
Yeah.
They seem scary, and it's not just, I guess we could talk about this too. It's not because like T'Kuvma, his features, I hesitate to say it because I don't want to make it seem like a scary thing. They emphasize his features so much, as in he has the full lips and everything, but they make them huge. He has a full nose, African descent nose. But they emphasize that and make it huge. And I think now, are they just giving us stereotypes, African stereotypes?
I think more of a warrior. I saw it as more of a warrior. So not necessarily as a ethnic. I saw them, definitely making them more intimidating, a more powerful warrior culture.
Right. And but then the outcast in their society is the white guy, is the albino guy.
I see what you mean.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Are there again judging based on the cover of the book?
Stereotypes to I don't know.
The albino was a shorter of stature, and maybe the features weren't as coarse as
Well, I know that like in the TNG, in the Next Generation, the Klingons, they used a lot of black actors to play Klingons. It was, I mean, they played into that, and they made the different races a thing that, and Star Trek in general has done this, has made us think of race in a different way, in more, and, thank goodness, more realistic and better ways to get away from all those stereotypes and the horrible racism that we've had in this country and other places. And I'm just wondering, is this a step forward or is this a step back? Are we scared of them because they look vaguely African and intimidating with their, warrior stuff, or what? So anyway, I would be very interested. So for that reason alone, I'm very interested to see where this show goes.
Yeah.
And see how these Klingons are portrayed in the future, because they are super scary right now.
But we do learn during this pilot episode that and we won't spoil it yet for those, you will spoil it later on, that the Klingons can be approached and not have it end up in death and violence.
Yeah. Only if the Vulcans behave as Vulcans don't behave.
Yeah, the Vulcans did it. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And the torchbearer, the new torchbearer guy, I didn't introduce him and I know that he plays a role in this show, and I'm sorry I didn't introduce him in the cast list. But he's barely.
He stays active in this.
He is barely in it. Well, I really can't say much of anything because I do know some things, but I don't know enough to really
base it on this pilot. Like I said, we have to base it
on this pilot. So then we go into the introduction of the show. What do you think of?
Well, you told me to pay attention to the music, the introductory music.
Well, just because Star Trek Enterprise had such a hated opening song. What did you think of this one?
Well, I thought it sounded, in my opinion, especially when you said, now, listen to this and let me know what you think. Well, most of it was totally unrecognizable as a Star Trek theme until the last few bars of the song.
Yeah, they pull in the theme. Now, see, I love this theme, but it sounds to me like a superhero movie.
Yeah, see, right.
That dun, 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 that whole bit. With and you have the strings in the background, doing their arpeggios and things. That, to me, it sounds like a superhero movie.
And then it ends with the Star Trek, what I call brass.
But I have to say, the more, because I've heard this theme many, many times. I've listened to the theme on other things, and the more I listen to it, the more I like it. I really like this theme. It's kind of a return. Yeah, it's kind of a return, saying, okay, we get it. You don't want a pop song on to introduce Star Trek. Star Trek is supposed to be orchestrated, damn it. I don't know why, but it is. And so that's what they give us. And I like it. And I think it'll just get stronger as I listen to it. But I love the schematic version of the opening. I think it's really cool where they're showing us the old technology, but with a kind of a modern twist to it.
Right.
It's like, here's your communicator. It's like the old communicator, and here's the breakdown. So everything is like the old original series stuff, but with a little more modern twist, which is what they have to do. They have to update a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll have to see because it was a entirely different type of introduction. I'll have to see. I'm holding my opinion on whether I like it or not.
Yeah, this isn't the Enterprise flying around or the Shinjo. We don't even see the Discovery or anything yet.
Right.
They don't have that to show us. Although the ship that they show on the schematic at the beginning, is that the Enterprise? Because it looks different than the ship that we have in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention. I'd have to look at it again. I just was watching how they were moving it, putting it all together on how different schematics erupted out of other schematics. I thought the
really cool.
artistry of it was well done.
Okay, now we're on the planet. I'm sorry that I missed all of that at the beginning.
Now on the planet. And on the planet, and maybe that was the whole point of it. I couldn't tell right off the bat who was the leading officer and who was the second in command.
Well, Michael's so strong, but she also has a way of speaking that is, to her credit, now that I understand that she was mentored by Vulcans, she has kind of a Vulcan approach to what she's saying. Everything's matter of fact and facts type of thing.
Yeah, to the point that I almost thought she was Vulcan, but then I said, wait, she doesn't have the ears. Yeah.
That approach doesn't really continue on in the ship. It's kind of like this intro is different than the rest of the show.
Very.
Because she's far more emotional in the rest of it. And during this one, it's like she's really matter of fact, and that storm will approach, and she breaks down just like a Vulcan does.
Very much.
Down to the minute, which she was totally wrong on, by the way, because it wasn't like 10 hours or something. I can't remember how long.
Right, and then all of a sudden, it's upon us.
She said, it's moving quicker than I thought. Well, I guess you're not fully Vulcan, or else you would.
How long until that storm comes crashing down on us?
I estimate 1 hour, 17 minutes, 22 seconds.
10 hours. Really? Perhaps you should pay attention when watching something for the show.
And maybe that was the point of it, too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That could have been the point. They are trying to bring water back in a well, because this species that's on this planet is going to die, right?
Right, and so they're trying to.
So you can restart a well just by firing a phaser down, firing a gun down it.
Well, I guess, disrupting the bedrock, maybe? I don't know. I guess they must have known that there was water just a little bit deeper.
How does that mess with the water table, though? How does firing something down into a well change the water table?
Oh, did you catch that they were changing? I just thought they were going deeper, and maybe that the creatures on the planet didn't have the technology to go deeper.
Well, maybe that's it, but why would it then come bursting up? Wells don't work that way.
Pressure? Unless it's down under pressure? Good question.
You have to pump it up, or else we wouldn't have to have a pump on our wells if that happened. We would just go down until we hit water, and then it would just geyser up like crazy, and you would just cap it, and you would have
pressure.
Instant pressure.
It's under pressure, so maybe that's what they created with their phasers, is the pressure to.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Have it function as a geyser.
They gave them water, and we were introduced to a cool alien species that I wish that we would learn more about, and we never will.
Oh, we don't. You know that for a fact.
I don't think that opening species had anything to do with anything other than showing them on a planet.
Just introducing an alien species, and the whole point of what Star Trek thinks that they're doing is going out and discovering new forms of life and helping them to survive.
Yeah. They had a really funky name, too. And Crepusculans.
Ew.
Really?
No.
Sounds horrible, does it?
Like a crustacean. Yeah, and I guess they were because their shells were on the outside.
Yeah, they were kind of ooey and gooey, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's far more ooey and gooey than those conditions they were living in. That seems to be really the antithesis of a desert dweller, right?
Yeah, where their shell has to be on the outside to protect their
yeah, but they're all slimy, but they have the slimy hands and stuff. Mm-hmm. You would think that would be terrible in a sand environment.
Right. Well, that's true. But anyway, I think that's their point, is it didn't used to be a sand environment.
You know what I think? I think I'm not supposed to worry about them very much. Maybe they'll come back later on. I don't know. I have no idea. So, okay. My first big problem with this show. You ready? Mm-hmm. It's not really a huge thing. It's just this opening sequence to me, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, they are there to help out this species, right? But they can't be seen because of the whole Prime Directive thing, which is not called the Prime Directive yet.
I don't remember them saying it.
But anyway, they can't be seen by these creatures. Okay, the whole idea is for them to get in, get out, and
not have contact.
And not have contact with these creatures. Okay, you have the storm coming in. The ship was keeping track of them, I guess, with sensors, but as with all of these things, I guess that sort of thing won't work when there's a storm.
Big dust storm above them.
You know, Star Trek is replete with episodes of things, sensors not working just because the script says the sensors don't work. But anyway, so in order to get their attention before this storm hits, because the ship couldn't possibly know where they were at, right?
Because they were too small, so they were too small.
They would have to know. Come on.
Come on. They're wearing detectors.
Right. So Giorgio has them walk in the pattern of the comm badge, of the Starfleet symbol. Seriously, two people walking side by side is going to make a symbol big enough. It's going to make a line big enough to be seen from orbit.
Yeah. And she knew that she could walk in the Star Trek symbol.
Right. And she not only is precise as that, and she said, walk in a straight line. She said, make sure your line's straight. Well, guess what? Nothing on that Starfleet symbol is straight.
It's like, follow me.
It has curved lines over the whole thing. And she did all of that walking. It was a big symbol. It took them a while to walk that way. With the storm coming in the background, at some point they had to have been walking directly toward the storm that was coming toward them, and Michael didn't say anything. She did all of that without telling her first officer what she was trying to accomplish.
And to make a symbol that big, they did. It's a long time walking. You know, it's not just 10 minutes.
That was a long way to go to make the point that she could get them off the planet. And
yeah, that's...
But it made for, I know, they did it just for the dramatic symbol, and look how clever Giorgio is, the captain is, and it was kind of, I found it a little silly, but that's okay. That's
now,
right.
Just a little something here. This is the Star Trek Discovery is the first Star Trek television series that was not made in either Hollywood or the United States.
Where is it made?
This was filmed at the Pinewood, Toronto studios in Canada.
There you go. Canada. Thank you, Canada, for helping our genre television. Without you, we wouldn't have any, it feels like.
And this is also the first of the 6 television series not to be produced by either Desilu or Paramount. It was the first one to be produced by CBS.
Yeah. And the series producer is Brian Fuller, who you and I don't have much experience with. Brian Fuller. He has an extensive Star Trek background in that he was a series writer for both Voyager and Deep Space Nine. He has a couple episodes of Deep Space Nine that were written by him. He's a big Star Trek guy anyway. But he also produced shows like Pushing Daisies, Dead Like Me, Wonder Falls, American Gods, and none of which we've seen. I would love to see American Gods. It's on now. But he's not producing that show anymore. Nor is he producing this show anymore. So he's moved on.
And then one last first.
Go ahead.
One last first? This is the first of the Star Trek, both TV series, animated series, and films not to involve Gene Roddenberry's wife. How do you say her? Majel Barrett.
Majel Barrett. Oh my God, that my cough is killing me.
Do we need to stop?
So this is the first one to not include Majel Barrett.
Mm-hmm. Because she passed.
Yes,
she died
she died.
December 18th, 2008.
she's no longer around.
Yeah.
So all in all, this is just a different series, and the look is different. Everything is different. I say the look is different, but really it reminds me of the JJ universe.
And that's what I found distracting right off the bat, is after you told me that, which I'm glad you did, you said that this was 10 years prior. The technology seemed to be so much more advanced.
Oh, yeah. Totally more advanced.
Yeah. So it just, to me didn't jive. But I do understand, we're filming for a new generation, and we've got a whole lot more technology at our hands to make these films pop that we didn't have back when Star Trek originated. But.
Yeah, I think this is the way you need to go if you're trying to get a new audience and not just those that are into Trek.
Yeah, not us old generations.
If you're wanting to capture those that don't necessarily know the look of the original series or can't really place it in the timeline, you have to update it. But here's the problem. They could have just avoided all of the issues they had with continuity and trying to fit this in and the technology and the way the ships look and all of that just by putting it in the future. And just bump it forward a little bit, and then you don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
So what was their rationale? Do you know?
I don't really know. I think there are two camps there are those who want to boldly go further on, than what we had, and there are those that want to fill in that timeline, to check out that time when Starfleet was first starting, or this one isn't when they were first starting, but before the.
I see what you mean, because they have yet to go even earlier of when and it's beginning, because now this is taking us probably before Kirk is born.
Right. Yeah.
But you're right; they can even go even earlier to
which they did with
the founding
Enterprise.
Of.
Yeah,
they did.
That's what Star Trek Enterprise was about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's filling the gap between Enterprise and the next generation. And TOS and the original series.
Okay.
And this is more of a Star Trek Enterprise ship, which they had the same issue with Enterprise. They made an Enterprise that looked more like the ships from the movies, from the next generation movies, than the tie-in with the original series ship. So, in other words, they've been doing this all along. Every time they do an update, they kind of work in, even though they're going back in time in the series, they always work in current technologies and graphics and things like that from the current day in Hollywood.
And the trivia on the design of this USS Discovery, the design of the USS Discovery, so not the ship that we are seeing in this pilot.
Yep, you have to go off the Shinjo.
Okay, so we don't talk about the Sinjo yet.
No,
this
although
has
it has
a little bit of trivia about the U.S. Discovery, which I guess we'll see later on.
Yeah,
but we didn't see it in this pilot.
I mean, I know what it looks like, and I've seen it, and honestly, I don't. There are parts of it I really don't like.
Well, I knew that we would have to be, because the name of this series that we're going to watch is Star Trek Discovery, and historically, the series is based on the name of the ship. So when they introduced this ship, I knew that it was not maybe going to be long for the world, because we are eventually going to get to the Discovery.
Right. Now, the series isn't Star Trek Shinjo.
Right.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So hence another thing is don't get too attached to this ship, because this isn't the main one. So why would you throw that out in a pilot? Yeah, bizarre. Bizarre. Yeah.
That's why you have to see the second half of the pilot, which is the second episode, to get an idea of what's going on. Because everything set up in this, quite frankly, is like a different show than what I know continues on. I know it's not quite like this. I'm not sure exactly what happens.
So it's like they're cheating. Your pilot has nothing to do with what the series is all about.
Well, it does. It sets up the main folks, but anyway. Yeah. One thing I really enjoy is you hear a lot of the original series sound effects. The doors sound like it. The little sensors make the sounds like it. So I did enjoy those little bits, audio cues put in from the original series. I noticed a lot of those, and I'm sure it'll continue through the show. That was one part I did like.
Yeah, you tend to pay attention to those, and those are, to me, are just background noise.
Well, I've heard them so many times over the years that, it's iconic, and I appreciate hearing them.
And because you capture a lot of those sound bites, too, and use them for various parts of your creations.
Yes, I do. Now, this ship, again, this looks just like out of the JJ universe, because the front of the ship, they have an actual window that they're looking out on the front of the ship. Whereas the original series, it was like a screen. It looked like a screen. Maybe it was supposed to be a window. I can't remember, but it's a screen. Mm-hmm. And this looks just like the JJ Universe ones. So it's a weird combination of the two timelines. But having said that, I like the bridge, but the same criticism I have with the movies, I have with this one, in that everything is so dang dark. Mm-hmm. Why does everything have to be all dark? Can't they light everything? Can't they have lights on their bridge?
Yeah, you would think so, but maybe it's energy. Maybe they're energy efficient.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that it's not the super bright lighting of the original series or Next Generation, but it's more cinematic lighting, is what it is. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe I'm just old now. I want more light. I want to be able to see everything a little better. Okay, so they come back up to the ship, and they come across a Federation relay that has been destroyed by someone.
Something. They don't know it's someone. They were not sure if it was an accident or purposefully done at first.
And it's in this binary star system, which looks beautiful, by the way. Mm-hmm. And, of course, in true Star Trek fashion, there's a ship or an object out there that they can't identify because, lo and behold, the sensors don't work here either. Oh, darn it. And it's a big asteroid field and everything. They want to take the ship in there. So what does Burnham do? Of course, she hops into a suit and goes jetting over there instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in her suit, she's not going to take a little. Because I see she's got to go in between.
They couldn't,
rocks.
For whatever reason, they couldn't maneuver. The shuttles weren't maneuverable enough or something. I can't remember what they said. Blah, 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 excuse to put Burnham in a suit and send her over by herself so that she can kill a Klingon. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. So she goes jetting over there. And at one point, didn't you say that you thought that they were watching from the ship? They had a video feed of her.
Yeah, they were watching through what she was seeing, like a camera maybe in her helmet.
The suit, in the helmet.
But as she's flying towards this object, propelling towards this object, we're seeing views from behind her. We're seeing views from in front of her. It's like, where's the cameraman?
I think you have that.
We should only be seeing through her hood, her helmet.
And, at this point in our future, we should probably have little nano cameras that can fly all around us, right?
I guess so. Maybe that's what it was.
No,
Maybe it was...
they don't explain it that way, no.
Body cams that are like little orbs that, spin around her while she's propelling. Not. They would have showed that if that was occurring.
Yeah. They do this all the time in shows just because they have footage from earlier in the film and a person has a flashback. They see themselves in third person from multiple camera angles, just like the film from earlier. So they do that all the time. I'd have to watch it again to see if that was their view or not. But anyway, they do that sort of thing all the time. And
it couldn't have been their view because as she's propelling towards this thing, we even have a view from her from the front. So even if they were doing their view from out of the window... You
wouldn't see her face.
You wouldn't see her face. You'd be seeing her back at the best. Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. Okay. So she goes and she lands on this ship, which she then goes on to describe in detail, okay?
I'm above the object, which is old. Centuries old. It's difficult to tell if it was constructed or carved.
Right, and she was just relating it, obviously, to what she did know and trying to make sense of the unknown of what she does know.
So then she turns around and there's a Klingon there looking really cool, by the way. And he attacks her and she jumps at him and ends up pushing his bat'let through his chest and killing him. Mm-hmm. She's having a bad day, you know that?
Yeah.
So just right off the bat that we've set this character up with, oh no, now what's going to happen? She just, her first contact with the Klingons in like 100 years or something is that's not so hot.
And that's interesting, I find. So how old is Michael? Because if this is the first contact,
they said they had
it wasn't the first. Years.
It's not the first. They said they had limited contact.
Okay, because Michael's, as we see in her flashback, her parents were killed by Klingons.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So she had contact because she's not 100 years old. She had contact.
No, she's not. No, she's not. And so I would have to watch it again to get that. But I know that they said something along the lines of we've had very limited contact for 100 years or something like that they said, which seems odd, but I don't know. All I know is she done killed a Klingon.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now here's a spoiler, which I didn't. That now makes sense of why they've got Spock's dad. I saw Spock's dad as being her mentor. Well, there's a reason why he's her mentor.
Well, see, we don't know that though. We don't know that from this episode. Yeah. We have to base it on this episode.
Well, or did they reveal that with the flashbacks?
They revealed. Well, he had said that her parents had been killed. And he was her mentor when
he was just walking around being the tester. That's all that we saw.
Yep,
okay.
That's all we saw him. And we know that she respected him enough to contact him and have a little head-to-head, face-to-face with him. Head-to-head. Have a little head-to-head with him.
Which, again, how many people would contact I would see well, I guess if he's a mentor or a professor. But I saw him as a mentor, yeah.
Yeah, well, and not only did she do that, she did that right in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah.
She asks the captain, I got to leave the bridge. She's like, what? What the hell are you doing?
And she spends a good
amount
of time.
Oh, I promise it's related. It's very important. I have to go do this,
Yeah, and we know the Klingons historically attack and kill everyone in sight, but yeah. Oh, wait. Intermission.
Yeah. Right, intermission.
Hang on.
I need to go talk. So that's all because when she gets back on the ship, well, she's drifting out there because her suit is compromised, and they pick her up, they get her, and bring her aboard, and she's hurt because she has radiation sickness, and she's been out there too long. And they patch her up from that, and then she knows they're Klingons, and now she's on this crusade to. Essentially, she knows because they're Klingons and because of her past, the Klingons are going to kill him. So they better
run.
They have to strike first. They either have to run or strike first.
Strike first, yeah.
And you have to show strength, and that's what her little tete-a-tete with Sarek meant, was that she took that to mean, okay, Vulcans know that you slap the Klingons first, and then they respect you.
Yeah, because that's how they are, and hence the title of this episode. Right.
But of course, we know T'Kuvna, the leader of the religious leader of the Klingon guys, we know that's exactly what he wants, right? Doesn't he want that? Wouldn't he want the Federation to attack first? Because then you have justification for whatever, right?
That's true, because if they're on a religious crusade, they're not in wartime, but yet... Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he called, so they used the albino Klingon to activate the torch.
Yeah.
Which then brought more crusaders.
Yeah,
for what purpose?
And please tell me that we aren't going to have yet another character with albino character that is going to be evil and nasty just because they're an albino.
Yeah.
We do that.
I didn't like that.
So I hope I don't think the series goes that way, but
I'd like us not to. I'd like this series to go past the outer cover.
Let's talk a little bit about that character, or just that part of the prophecy in general.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a whole prophecy that the torchbearer is going to send the signal that will unite the however 24 houses, however many houses of Klingons there are, to bring them together for this, essentially to bring the Klingon way to the rest of the universe. They're going to go on a crusade, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
And this torchbearer guy is the one, or whomever, guy, girl, I don't know, is going to start this by sending out the signal. Is that literally all the torchbearer has to do?
Yeah, is that their one job?
They have a prophecy of someone who does what? Pushes a button? to turn the ship into to turn on the lights on the ship and to send an electromagnetic signal across the galaxy. Is that really all that he had to do?
Is that really?
And did that require some sort of prophecy for that to happen?
Right.
Couldn't you just say, hey, Chaklaknuk, could you please go over there and press that button? No.
Because it's the lighting of the torch that's symbolic to starting the new.
Yeah. I don't think it's a prophecy if you hand pick the person for the prophecy, right? Is that how prophecies work? Is that how you do it? You decide who is the prophet that, that turns on the lights and sends the signal. There's got to be more to it than that. But, I mean, that's all it seemed to me. And no one else wanted to do it. That other guy who was from the house of the guy who died out on the hull of the ship said, are we really supposed to do this?
And they didn't really flesh out why. Why does no one else want to do it?
Maybe they don't want to start a war.
What happens to the torchbearer? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the torchbearer becomes one with the torch. I don't know.
We didn't see him after that. Maybe he died doing that.
Yeah, but it doesn't flesh out what the fear, why no one else wanted to do that.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't much of an honor if nobody else in that room wanted to do it.
Right.
It was like, okay, I'll do it. And they're like, you? But you're an albino. You can't do that. And he's like, oh, yeah? I'll hold my hand in this flame until you make me stop. And that'll prove that I can push a button and start a war. That's what it is.
Yeah, that was kind of weak.
Yeah, that was kind of weak to me. All right, let's see. Oh, I put a big mark in my notes that said the camera angles are all over the place. They do all of these, what do you call that when you tilt? There's an angle to it that I can't remember. It's a term in film where you shoot at funky angles.
The Dutch angle, also known as Dutch tilt.
This one's shot all over the place. Everything's angled, because there's no up or down in space. So to kind of give you that thought, they tilt the camera just slightly, or sometimes pretty dramatically, side to side when they're in the ship, almost like you're just floating around. And it's giving it a kind of that off look, where nothing is straight up and down. It's just like a little bit tilted this way and that. It's a style of filming, and it's pretty effective. I thought it was pretty good. What other thoughts you have on this?
I think we've covered most of my thoughts on what I...
What do you think of the diversity of the crew? Not just racial, but just in general. They have that one crew member that is robotic. That was really cool. Who's that? I want to know more about that person. I hope we get to know them. I hope nothing bad happens to them.
I really didn't bond with very many of the other crew members because, like you said, they were all other than just the three that you introduced. And I really didn't bond with any of the Klingons yet because we just did not spend enough time.
Well, this is your classic Star Trek setup, right? You have Captain, First Officer, and whomever, in this case, the Science Officer.
I didn't pick up on who's the red shirt.
Nobody has a red shirt. We didn't see one, did we? Did we see a red shirt? I guess we didn't see one, did we?
No.
No. That is a good point. Did we see any red shirts? No one's died yet, so.
Yeah, because if they're going to keep up with the theme of the red shirts dying, because I presume we're probably going to have some death in the next. So I guess the whole point is of course, and I think that's cheating too, to leave you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Come on. So of course you're going to at least watch the second one.
Right.
So then,
which really isn't the second episode; it's the second half to this episode.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
So that's kind of cheating. This wasn't a complete pilot episode. And you warned me of that. You said, should we watch the second one? And I said, no, because our podcast is based on, would we continue to watch this based on the pilot?
Based on the first one you saw. Now, we did.
So they cheated because, of course, I'm going to want to watch at least the second episode because now I need to know. But I think Star Trek generally... Well, no, that's not true. Their episodes historically have ended, and then the next episode is a new story, a new alien that they've met, a new...
I think at the Next Generation, the encounter at Farpoint is in two parts, but I can't recall if that was because they turned it into 2 episodes for when it was in syndication, or if it was, I think originally it was a 2-hour premiere, is what I recall. That was when I was in college. I think it was a 2-hour premiere, so even that one, I think they showed the whole thing.
Okay.
Huh. Well, okay. Now let's talk a little bit about Michael Burnham, because based on this opening episode, I have serious issues with this character. Serious issues.
Okay.
And here's why. I think she's a wonderful actress. I have no issue with that. I think she's fantastic. She's compelling. She's very watchable. She's very intelligent. They give her intelligent dialogue. They give her cool things to say. But she's a first officer in Starfleet, and she butts into a conversation with an admiral and just blasts into the middle of that. She is so flippant to her captain.
Yeah, almost
she
to the
gives her own captain a Vulcan neck pinch and knocks her out. What the hell?
Yeah, right here, all in the first pilot, and it's like,
this is
not a very disciplined.
Is this the same person that at the beginning of the episode, Giorgio was talking about her getting her first command? She was saying that, she was talking about her going to be making a good captain or something like that.
Very inconsistent in her.
Oh my God.
It's almost like when and maybe that's what they were portraying. Maybe that is the whole point of because she has a lot of trauma in her childhood based on Klingons. Did being shocked by seeing Klingon and affect her and
well, there again,
and flip a switch to make her behave this way?
If she was to the point where she believed in this so much that she was willing to neck pinch her captain, she knows that's not going to last very long. Then she comes onto the bridge and demands that the person at comm, to the weapons guy, demands that they target and fire on the Klingons. Why didn't she just walk onto the bridge, walk over there and hit the button?
Hit the button herself.
Just do it herself before anybody had a chance to even question anything that she's doing. If she really believed it that much, why didn't she do that? Well, because they wanted to have the dramatic entrance of the captain saying, "You're wrong and you're court-martialed. Get out of here. Pull her out of here."
Next episode. It's like,
right, exactly. In other words, if you're that bunsed up about it, you're going to do everything you can to fire that weapon. You're going to do it no matter what anybody says. But oh my God, you talk about going out of chain of command for everything that you're doing in this episode. Including leaving the bridge in the middle of the action to go talk to your stepdad.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Your mentor.
Totally out of what you would think second in command would act like. That's why I said I'm wondering if
different.
The only thing I can make sense is that seeing those Klingons triggered a deep-seated emotion that she couldn't control.
I have it so strongly. I have a 2 stars next to it, and I have a no. Not
would not happen.
Mutiny. Michael is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, she would.
And here's what I love too. Okay, at the very end, when they think hopefully Starfleet ships are showing up, but no, it's not Starfleet ship. It's Klingon ships. You know how we know it's Klingon ships? Because that display that shows the ships arriving have giant Klingon symbols on them on their screen. It's like they've had so little contact with this race, but yet their ship knows to put big Klingon symbols on the screen to show that they're Klingon ships. That's pretty smart. Do you suppose they just have a big library of logos from different cultures within the ship so that they can put them on the screen at any given time? I bet,
yes, I do.
yes, they do.
Yes, I do. I was kind of thinking too, as we're talking about the Klingons and is Michael's character more like Captain Kirk's? Because Captain Kirk was very unpredictable and insubordinate at times. You think her character is more?
Well, I think in general, Star Trek ignores the Prime Directive on many occasions. And justifies it one way or another. And Kirk was kind of a fire first and justify later kind of guy in some cases. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they are trying to play with more of that kind of a personality, but I don't know. All I know is that the captain said, at least on one occasion, Starfleet doesn't fire first. And that is one of the tenets of, it's like, don't fire first. Don't be the one to do that. Now you can make cases that there are all kinds of situations where, heck, you probably should have fired first. But if you have the entire, your entire fleet is based on a set of rules, and that's one of the rules is like, hey, we are explorers. We are not here to start wars with people. That is not what we do. Now, I know that Michael wasn't thinking that's what she was doing. She was trying to avoid a war. She's trying to save everybody's lives.
Using the knowledge that she learned from being trained as a Vulcan.
But, that certainly superseded her Starfleet training, because that's not what she was acting like. So, anyway, it's not a huge deal in that I am interested to see where the show goes from here. But man, oh man, she's got to act differently than she does in this episode, or else I'm not going to like her at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think about that. I don't know what's going to happen. She's court-martialed now, so we'll see.
So will we continue to watch this? Yes, we will.
Yes,
and why?
we will.
Because we have the set.
Because we own the set. No.
We own the set. No, but even if we didn't own the set, we would probably do like we did with The Flash. If we didn't own the set, we would at least watch the next one.
We had the chance to do it. If we're going to order All Access, we would have done it. If I couldn't stand not seeing where that went, we would have bought All Access and continued it. Could be that after this season we're so into it, we'll say, well, we can get it for like a month and we can pile through the shows, and then
would we have gotten All Access, or would we have said, let's get that when it comes out on DVD?
Well, of course I knew, because I listened to Star Trek podcasts. I listened to like 3 of them. I knew that I was going to have the opportunity to know everything about this story if I wanted to. Without watching it. And of course that's not really fun.
Not the same.
But I have listened to all those episodes, and it's spoiled everything for me, but at the same time I've forgotten half of it now. So it's not really going to be that bad. And honestly, knowing where some of the major plot points are going to go, it will be interesting to me to see how they get it there.
Oh, okay.
So I think I don't think it's really going to be that big of a deal that I know some of these things. I think I will be looking for telltales of different plot points that are coming in the future to see if I can see where that seed is placed or whatever, So yeah, I think it's overall very strong episode. What do you think in comparison? Now, if you think back, I know it's hard to, but it's been years and years since we did it. I remember all the pilot episodes, but I remember you and I were surprised at how strong we thought the Star Trek Enterprise pilot was. I remember it the least of the pilots, but I know that we liked it, even though that series is not the most beloved from
we enjoyed the pilot.
We thought it was one of the stronger pilot episodes as far as the actors acting the way they do and in the rest of the series. We thought it was good that way. A lot of the other ones, like The Next Generation, those characters act in ways they don't for the rest of the series in a lot of the cases.
Yeah.
So that made it a little distracting to say, oh, that's not what Data's going to be like for the rest of the series.
Right.
Or, everybody acts a little differently.
Because we kind of saw that backwards. We were doing the pilots after we'd already watched the whole series. This time we have not watched the entire series. This truly is watching the pilot.
And I'm looking forward to that experience. I think that as far as the look of the show, this is the best Star Trek has ever looked. I think it looks gorgeous.
Yes, I agree there.
Yeah. Even if the ship is too dark and a little funky shaped. I mean, those nacelles, the little sticky out bits, if you want the engines, God, they're long.
Yeah.
On the Shinjo, and knowing the design of the Discovery, it's even more so. And so it's I don't know. I have issues, not with the saucer section of that ship, but with the rest of that ship. I have, but you know what? That's a little thing. When it really
if it was
comes
10
down
years
to
prior to, Enterprise, they have to, technology, things, as we know, technology starts big and then it gets smaller as it gets more efficient. So
I just have such a hard time seeing things progress from where they're at in this episode to that iconic ship from TOS. Mm-hmm. How do you get that ship?
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Yeah.
It's totally different. We don't even have the white outside of ships. It's all that gray stuff now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, they're going to get there. We will get to see it. So yes, we will move on with this series and enjoy it.
We will continue to watch it.
This one is very divisive with the Star Trek fans, the hardcore fans, which is always going to be the case. I mean, that's one thing that with any fandom, you're going to piss half the people off half the time.
Yeah. Can't always please everyone.
So it's almost a no-win if you're going to continue a beloved series. It's almost a no-win.
Correct.
But we will continue watching, and we thought it was pretty darn good. Even if
thumbs up.
Thumbs up, even if I'm really mad at Burnham right now.
See, so she did her part well.
But she's supposed now. She's got to be the
feeling.
Hero. Babe, she's the hero. I have to like her eventually, right?
I don't know. Is she the hero?
Please, that's a good point. I know. Yes, she is. Has to be.
Don't know.
If you would like to share your thoughts on this episode of Star Trek or any other episode of Star Trek or any other movie or anything you would like to give us, including that ubiquitous meatloaf recipe that I keep talking about, that infamous meatloaf recipe I keep referencing at the end of our shows. How come you haven't sent us one yet, Anthony?
Well, and there again, I don't know why you keep mentioning meatloaf, because we don't eat meatloaf.
No, we really don't.
Maybe we don't eat meatloaf because we don't have a recipe that is good. We have yet to find a good meatloaf recipe.
I like meatloaf.
Yeah, I've tried it a few times, but it's like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
So give us yours. Cavebabble@gmail.com, or head on over to cavebabble.com and see a list of our episodes. You may also join our Facebook group. Search for Cavebabble, ask to join, and we will accept you, I promise. You may subscribe to us on iTunes. Search for Cavebabble Podcast. Subscribe that way. If you like what you hear, please throw a few stars our direction. That would be really helpful. And that's about it. We hope everyone lives long and prospers.
Well, instead of a meatloaf recipe, why don't we ask our listeners to share their favorite recipe that they make? It may not be meatloaf. What is your go-to recipe that you love? For example, you're going to watch the playoffs this afternoon, and
what's
your
go-to
recipe that you take because people seem to love it is Texas caviar.
Yeah.
So you're taking that. So as our listeners, what is your favorite go-to recipe? Not necessarily for potluck. What is your favorite one to make for, a dinner or a lunch or a breakfast?
So what you're saying is, instead of a meatloaf recipe,
what is their favorite recipe?
They can send us a loaved meat recipe.
No, because maybe nobody likes meatloaf anymore.
No, they like loaved meat.
Maybe you're asking for something that doesn't exist. Let's ask for something that does exist. Everybody has a favorite recipe.
Loaf meat. Send us your loaf meat recipes, and I would really appreciate that. Okay, let's sign this thing off, babe.
Okay.
Enough of this madness. Enjoy your Star Trek. We did. Yeah. And if you're like Michael, remember, it's unwise to confuse race with culture.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Thanks for all the downloads and listens. And until next week, we're out of here.
Goodbye.
Cavebabble. Oh, yeah? I'll hold my hand in this flame until you make me stop. 2 weeks in a row. We deserve some meatloaf.
I've yet to find a meatloaf recipe I like.
You didn't hear that. Come on. Loafed meat. Bring it on, everybody. Bye.
Yeah, loaves. Yeah, I agree. Loathes.
Goodbye.
I loathe it. Yeah. Bye. Yeah.
Meat loathing.
I loathe it. Yeah. Hate. Loathe.
Send us your meat hate. Bye-bye.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.